a real beauty.
Hello and welcome to the Gaggle Challenge, and if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, I think, as you put it very well earlier today, it's no longer a matter of if, but when the United States will strike Venezuela. I don't think anyone has anywhere in the world has any doubts that these attacks on Venezuela has nothing to do with drugs, has nothing to do with narco terrorism. It is all about regime change in Venezuela. Trump has become obsessed with removing Nicolas Maduro from power.
Or he's been made to be obsessed.
Right, but I think it goes back
Oh
to
yeah, well, his first administration,
exactly.
yeah.
So it's a preoccupation of his, and of course, waiting in the wings is the Nobel laureate, the recently anointed Nobel
Everyone should
laureate.
stand at attention, okay? Yeah.
Exactly, that's right, Maria Conchita Machado. Now, she gave an interview to Bloomberg TV, and the host of this podcast is actually quite an interesting person. It's kind of an interesting kind of a segue. She used to work at the BBC, and then she got herself into trouble because she had on our mutual friend Mohammed Marandi, and I just want to feature what happened when she interviewed Marandi, because of course there was an enormous protest that besieged the BBC, and here is the Telegraph story about this. So this woman, this is Michelle Hussein. We'll see her in a bit. Um, the headline: Michelle Hussein failed to sufficiently challenge guests over anti-Semitic conspiracies.
Oh, so she failed to uphold the corporate lie. Okay.
Exactly, BBC admits. The BBC has admitted that it failed to sufficiently challenge an Iranian guest who accused Israel of being an ethno-supremacist state that is committing a Holocaust in Gaza. Mohammed Morandi, a professor at the University of Tehran, appeared on Radio 4's flagship show on Tuesday to comment on how Iran would respond to Israel's limited ground invasion inside Lebanon. It's nice of them to put limited in quotes.
You're not really sure what the Telegraph is saying when they do
No,
that.
I don't know. I'm not either. In what Jewish organizations called a disgraceful move, Michelle Hussein, the BBC presenter, permitted Mr. Morandi to speak at length, unchallenged, as he called Israel a genocidal regime that believed its citizens were the chosen people. Um, and then a BBC spokesman said the Today program covered the latest developments in Lebanon and the Middle East and interviewed a range of people, including IDF spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner, U.S. diplomat Dennis Ross, and Iranian academic Mohammad Morandi to get a broad perspective on the complex politics of the region. Okay, so far, okay. And
So far,
yeah,
okay.
and what's the problem?
Okay, no lies detected. Keep
That's
going.
right. Mohammad Morandi was interviewed to gain an understanding of the view from Iran and what their response is likely to be. This was a live interview, and he was challenged during the course of the interview, and the Israeli position was reflected. However, we accept that we should have continued to challenge his language throughout the interview. So
Well,
essentially saying, well, you allowed him to speak. You're not supposed to allow him to speak. You're supposed to keep interrupting him. You're supposed to do what Piers Morgan does. You just don't allow him to speak. You just keep interrupting until he gives up. And it says the BBC, which, quote, must remain duly impartial according to
no,
sources.
well, no, they're not. They're saying they don't need to be impartial.
No, of course not.
They're just admitting that.
That's right. Allowed Mr. Morandi to continue uninterrupted as he claimed that the, quote, UK supports this Holocaust in Gaza just as it supports the slaughter of the Lebanese.
So when the IDF spokesman's on, you don't interrupt their lies.
That's exactly. No one ever interrupts them. We have no doubt that the UK will be with the Israelis until the very last Palestinian, he said, adding that the only way forward was resistance by Iran's proxy forces.
Well, what did you
And
expect from him, BBC?
that's right. The professor then labeled Israel an expansionist regime that believes in ethno supremacy without rebuttal from Hussein. It believes they are the chosen
No,
people.
she's supposed to police
That's right,
alternative
exactly.
narratives.
That's right. Um, and so and then here it says the end. The presenter waited for Mr. Morandi to finish, thanked him, and moved on to a new segment of the show. I've never heard anything as appalling as this in my life. She politely thanked him, for coming on the show and giving his view, which is what he was invited to do. But apparently, she didn't try to silence him. She didn't try to do the Piers Morgan routine, where you just simply basically just don't allow him to speak, and then you throw out accusations against the Iranian government that
So
he's
you're
somehow apparently responsible for.
so you're invited to the BBC to agree with the BBC
That exactly. So that's who this person is, and then she was let go by the BBC
for
in
doing
20,
journalism.
exactly
Amazing.
2024. She let go, and then she's now does these podcasts for
So
Bloomberg.
so we assume that she learned her lesson. Yes.
Well, yes, exactly. She learned her lesson, but it's kind of a step down. I mean, you're hosting a kind of a big show for BBC, and now you're kind of doing kind of freelance
Yeah, but
podcasts.
just as a sidebar, everyone. Yes, going from BBC to Bloomberg, at least from a status point of view, is a step down, but not financially. People at Bloomberg are paid very, very well.
Very well. Yeah, they are paid extremely well. That's right. So anyway, so she interviewed the Nobel laureate about what's going on in Venezuela and how you, as a Peace Prize winner, how do you square your advocacy for peace and support for the Trump administration's war in the Caribbean. I mean, interesting question. And so this is the this is her. This is the Mashal Hussein show.
The moment, doesn't it? We've seen this very striking move in the last few months, the military build-up in the Caribbean with the world's biggest warship, just being on its way there, just the latest demonstration of that. I want to ask you about the strikes the US has carried out on boats in the Caribbean, described as being strikes on drug cartels. What is your position on the deaths that have happened in that way?
Look, Michelle, as I was saying, for years, we were, asking the world to understand the degree of the threat and this devastation the Maduro regime was building in Venezuela. I mean, Venezuela has been turned into the
Is she going to answer the question or not?
Exactly.
of all criminal international networks, from the drug cartels to the Colombian guerrilla, to those groups that smuggle gold,
Waiting.
Communities of our indigenous people and the ecology, to networks that smuggle arms.
I'm going to file my nails. Okay.
Yeah, fine, man. Make a cup of coffee. Yes.
This is horrible what we're dealing. Russian agents, Iranian agents, freely operating in Venezuela.
So notice what now, Russian agents, Iranian agents freely operating in Venezuela. She's getting the message, to Washington. Yeah, yeah. Hey, you want?
Oh, I think, is that an earpiece in her ear? Is Marco talking to her?
That's right.
Hezbollah and Hamas.
Hezbollah and Hamas.
Everybody's at the party.
Hezbollah and Hamas. This is very interesting because you always assume, Hezbollah and Hamas kind of have their hands full at the moment. And
Hamas?
Yeah, you gotta kind of. I mean, do you have the people to spare to go into Venezuela? And I'm not even sure what exactly would Hamas be doing in Venezuela any more than I don't understand what Hezbollah would be doing in Venezuela. But she's got Hezbollah and Hamas, so you've got Lindsey Graham, so that can get him, foaming at the mouth, and he can go on Sean Hannity and say Hezbollah and Hamas are active in Venezuela. The Nobel laureate just explained that to us.
I'm sorry, I interrupted her. Has she answered the question about the boats
I
yet?
don't. I haven't heard the answer, but maybe she'll come to it.
in our country. And as any criminal structure works, the moment you start, weakening them and they falling apart is when you cut the sources of their and the inflows of their criminal activities. And we have asked for years the international community to cut these sources that come from drug trafficking and other criminal activities. Finally, this is happening.
So you think those killings are justified then? That's what I really want to understand. Are they justified? Or are they, as the UN would say, extrajudicial killings?
This is about saving lives. And Maduro.
She's, you have to give it to the interviewer. She is, she's very nice, very polite, but she's pressing her on that issue. So you think that's justified? This is, and it's not. They aren't extrajudicial killings. And she says, yeah. It's all Maduro's fault.
And he has been warned what not to do. These deaths are the responsibility of Nicolas Maduro. He knows, and the rest of the drug cartels that is in power in Venezuela, that they should stop these activities in order to prevent more deaths.
Yeah, because Hamas has created famine in Gaza, George. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. They're probably creating famine in Venezuela as
In Venezuela as well.
Yeah, that's because they like doing that. I like to create some famine wherever I go.
Look, this is very important. We don't want war. It was Maduro who started this war.
You are someone who stands for people's rights, for the rights of Venezuelans, for their democratic rights, for their human rights. What about the rights to due process of the people who were on those boats?
I certainly defend the rights of everyone, not only Venezuelans. That's why my voice has been, loud all along this process. But you need to understand, and all the international community need to understand, that this is a very cruel war. It was Maduro who turned this into an international conflict. Look, when you face,
that's really what I'm asking. Are those people expendable on the boats?
It was Maduro who insisted on maintaining operations that have consequences. It is Maduro that started a war against other countries, knowing that would have consequences. I am talking about this process.
So Maduro wants a war.
He wanted a war. He started war with a number of countries, knowing that there'd be consequences. It's kind of interesting. I mean, this is even more extreme than the Trump administration is saying. It is. I mean, you have to wonder then who put the idea into the heads of the Nobel Committee to give her this Nobel Peace Prize.
There's got to be a backstory to that.
There has to be a backstory. It was obviously there had to have been some kind of an organized move to persuade them that this person merits the Nobel Peace Prize, because she has never said anything that suggests that she wants any peaceful outcome in Venezuela.
All I can say to this lady here is if you want the United States with its vast armada to attack, I hope you're not a victim of it. I don't want to see anyone die. Okay, but
Yes.
you put your country in the crosshairs, you put yourself in the crosshairs. Okay, unless Hamas is there to build a tunnel for you where you can hide. I don't know. Okay.
Millions of lives. That's what we need to do. I mean, we have been for years explaining the degree of crimes against humanity that take place in Venezuela and that need to be stopped. It is systematic, it's massive, it needs to be stopped. Finally, there is a reaction from international coalition that is calling things by their names.
What is the coalition?
I don't see the coalition, but the finally is obviously, you mean the shooting. And she's basically is saying that's fantastic. She's supporting the shooting. These, all these people have been killed without due process, without really any evidence that they were involved in any kind of drug running, or even what their connection is with Maduro. But we know that this is a preparatory steps for the regime change operation. I think this is fantastic. And that's why I think the interviewer said, so you mean they're expendable? I mean, as long as, the Trump administration is heading down this path of regime change, you don't really care very much about all the people who have been killed.
Conventional dictator. We're facing a narco-terrorist structure that has turned Venezuela.
But only a few weeks ago, during the last election, she never made that claim against Maduro.
No.
The opposition to Maduro, which is very fragmented and it's really full of a group of egomaniacs on Miami's payroll, they never called Maduro a narco terrorist.
This is new.
These are new words coming out of her
That's
mouth.
right. That's right. It was before he was just a communist.
He was a communist.
That's right. Yeah.
Venezuelan resources, Venezuela's institutions, and that turned them to the favor to the activities of a criminal cartel.
And this language you use, narco-terrorism, this is exactly the language that the Trump administration uses about Venezuela. And President Trump is saying, after the boat strikes, the land will be next. Do you support US military strikes on the territory of Venezuela as part of what you call a process?
I believe that the increase in pressure and the escalation that's taking place is the only way to force Maduro to understand.
Can you answer the question, please?
This is the pressure. So that's it. So you support. Yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, yeah, you think attacking the territory of Venezuela with American missiles is great because it's putting pressure on Maduro.
That still support him, which are very few at this moment. The top brass of the military, financial enablers, front men that are making huge, obscene fortunes with the hunger of our people, better understand that.
Well, people are hungry because of the sanctions, lady.
This escalation is the last opportunity for those that still support Maduro to understand that they need to put aside, take all support away from him and Maduro himself to understand that this is the last chance to truly facilitate.
So can you stop it for a second, George?
Yeah.
So I guess she would be willing for the top brass, as she said, they should take obscene amounts of money from the United States so their people could be killed in the service of this woman's political career.
But what is interesting is the language that she uses. This is the language of Lindsey Graham. We apply pressure on Venezuela so that the people around Maduro realize this is your last chance. You don't think, well, if then what's next? This is your last chance. So you better do what the United States tells you to do. Namely, arrest him, kidnap Maduro, hand him over to the United States. That's what she's advocating. This is as belligerent as it can be.
And what standing does she have in Venezuela? She has no standing in Venezuela. Standing.
But she's there. She's the Nobel Peace Prize winner, and now she's endorsing the Trump administration policy. In fact, she's articulating it. So that's why when we say it's not a matter of if, but when, it's like you feel, well, all of the pieces are in place. We've seen enough of these U.S. military interventions over the years, and there is always a pattern, which is, everyone is talking the same language. The media are pretty much saying that everything is inevitable, and best of all, the top brass in the United States are saying that it's not going to happen. Trump said, no, no, no. Are the attacks imminent? No. Marco Rubio, no. No one's planning any attacks. So it really is a case of like Claude Claubourne's famous phrase, never believe in anything until it's officially denied. So once they deny, no, there's
what is
there are
it?
no plans to attack
What is
Venezuela.
Trump's going to pull a taco here? Oh, I ended the drug surge in America. Come on.
He's not going to do that. I think
No, he's not going to do
no,
that.
he's not going to do that. I mean,
No, we were patient and we
Yeah.
we stayed up all night and
that's yeah.
we were racking our brains, and
Yeah.
is there a way out? No, they're going to do this again and
That's
again.
right.
Remember when I don't know if it was with Brent. I think it was with Brennan when Obama was saying, we consulted theologians about killing,
That's right. That's it, yeah.
killing individuals that are not charged. I mean,
Yes.
do we call it really murder?
That's right.
We were just in the wee hours of the night in the Oval Office trying to get.
You're exactly right. That's what happened with the New York Times wrote about Obama, how he'd be wandering the halls of the White House, reading Aquinas about the concept of the just war, and think wrestling. You can see like he's a Hamlet, Hamlet walking around with his book, to be or not to be. It's so utterly ridiculous, and that's exactly the way they're presenting it. They're still wrestling with it. But when they said after all the talk that against Maduro, and suddenly said no, there are no plans to attack Venezuela. No, they're not going to do it. No. Then it's obviously just a matter of hours before they do this. Like Rubio announcing up when Israel strikes Iran. We had nothing to do with this.
Well, see,
Israel
again,
just went and did it by itself.
but see I think wrongly, but they're weighing the pros and cons, and they see the pros are way in the way they see it. And we've gotten this far. I mean, the USS Gerald Ford is almost there. I mean, pity to turn it around again.
Right.
I saw the numbers yesterday about how much it costs to run these ships a day and stuff like it. It's outrageous amounts of money. No, they're not going to turn back. No way. And Marco Rubio has been having this wet dream his entire adult life because you know what? Then it's Cuba.
It's Cuba, and that's the key. I mean, Nicaragua, obviously, and then it's Cuba. Cuba is the big prize. The American government.
And don't be surprised, everyone, is that when the Venezuela caper starts, is there going to be a coup attempt in Havana? Well, is there going to be some kind of natural disaster? And of course Nicaragua, which just humiliated the United States over and over again.
No, that's right. But that's the appeal of Cuba, which is, hey, administrations since Eisenhower have been trying to get rid of him. Well, he's dead now, but the communist regime, they've been trying. This is really since the late 1950s, and then Trump and Rubio will finally pull it off. Now, we have to say, yes, in the past, all these attempts to overthrow the communist regime in Cuba have failed. But you never know. I mean, you can bribe people sufficiently if you've got enough money to bribe enough people. It's not impossible that you can.
Well, I mean, George, don't dismiss the possibility to finish off Venezuela. We have to take care of Cuba.
Yeah, I think so. I think absolutely. Cuba is part of Trump's preoccupation. I mean, he's tightened sanctions against Cuba. Did that in the first terms. He's done this again. So it is a preoccupation of his to remove all kind of leftish
And
influences
he will
in
be the
Latin America.
president that did the
He'd be the
president.
president of it. Hey, Eisenhower couldn't do it. Kennedy couldn't do it. Reagan couldn't do it. I did it. I mean, that's why it's going to be very, very appealing for him. And so, and Rubio, of course, who's brought all his obsessions, from his family into it. But I think the way you'd have to think is they're going to apply this pressure. I think there will be missile hits on Venezuela, and then the military. I mean, hey, $5 million. $5 million is chump change for the U.S. government, but for somebody else, you can live in comfort for the rest of your life on $5 million. So, I think money is very tempting.
We'll
Bribe
see. I
enough
mean,
people, they'll do what you ask them to do. People
I
have a
mean, that
price.
goes down to the debate, which you can't. There's no definitive answer. I mean, it's been said that Maduro, or let's say the current government in Caracas, is coup-proof. Well, we'll see.
We'll
I
see.
mean, as the great philosopher Bob Dylan said, "Money doesn't talk; it screams." Okay, and
Yeah,
we see this. We see this all over the world. Particularly, we saw this with infiltration of Hezbollah. We had I mean, outright payment of the Syrian Arab army. I mean, this is the way it works. And
yeah.
George is right. This is just change in their pocket.
Yeah, exactly. And it worked. It worked in Syria with Assad. It worked in Libya. They managed to bribe people in Libya to turn on Gaddafi. It worked in Serbia against Milosevic. They bribed the military to turn.
Well, Ned and the USAID pumped tens of millions of dollars into Russia.
Exactly. So, one can't underestimate the effect of big
But
money.
what is for sure, everyone? It's going to be a tragedy.
Yeah,
Okay. It's good. I don't know the veracity, the reports that, the Maduro government was willing to cave to whatever demands. I've gotten some pushback for that, and for some people, this is not agreed facts. Okay, well, George and I talked about it, but it shows just what George was saying. Trump is going to be the president that did blah 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 blah. See, if they were interested in a deal, we'll give over all of our natural resources to you. That's the old. That is the prize. The natural resource. If you control the natural resources, you control the country. No, we want you out.
exactly. And that's the key. That's the key. America doesn't need natural. America has lots and lots of natural resources, so they don't need anything additional. Yeah, some people are going to make money, but that's not really what the U.S. government is about. They want to remove all possible, anything alien, anything untoward, something that America doesn't
Well,
control.
see, George,
Maduro is someone that they see as part of the Russia, China, Iran nexus.
exactly. Because when you make an agreement with someone or a government, you are by definition giving them legitimacy
Right.
because the deal itself to come into fruition, you have to have a legitimate partner to bring it across the line. They don't want to do that.
No.
They don't want to accord him any legitimacy whatsoever.
Right. Right. None at all.
And they're going to do it because, you know why, George? Because they can.
They can. And that's why if there is chaos, if they overthrow Maduro and the country just descends into complete chaos, that's not bad
It's
news.
okay.
United States, good. That's going to
That's
be,
okay.
then, hey, it's going to be the problem for other countries. It's not going to be a
Yeah.
problem for the United States. It's going to be other countries. It's going to be a problem for
Oh,
Brazil.
that can create an opportunity.
Exactly. Hey, now it's your. I mean, this is when they overthrew Gaddafi. That caused absolute spillover into West
To this
Africa.
day.
To this day, to West Africa, in all those, Mali and Niger, all of that. And for the Americans, yeah, great. This is, chaos. Chaos is good. Works for us. And I think that would be the case here. Okay, Venezuela is in chaos. What about the oil? What does it matter? That's not what it's They're interested in. America has oil. There's no
That's what I
shortage of
used to
oil.
always say about George W. Bush and Iraq. It's all about the oil. I would always say, I wish it was about the oil.
Exactly. Then it would
Would
be
make
simple.
sense. That would make sense.
That would make sense because then if it's about oil, then you can just sign a deal and do a deal, and everyone gets the oil. That's the point. Saddam Hussein would have been absolutely ready to do a deal favorable to the United States for oil. It was never that. Uh, that's, and that you're absolutely right. If it were that, then it would be great because there's nothing more easy to deal with than people who are only concerned with making money. If you're only concerned with money, that's an easy person to deal with.
Everything else is a detail.
Exactly. But with the United States, they're not concerned with that. And it's with them, it's always a big power play. And so Venezuela
And
just
add
entered
to it,
chaos, fine.
big power play and add to the Trump seasoning, it's a win.
Right. Right, exactly. So when we looked at the past one, like Guatemala, then they overthrew Arbenz in 1954. Decades and decades of chaos followed that. I don't remember the United States ever thinking, it may not have been such a great idea to overthrow Arbenz. He hadn't really done anything so terrible. No, fine. Guatemala, that's another failed state. It just failed. It's a failed state.
It,
It's got
it,
nothing to
it,
do with us.
it just failed. Everything's in the past. It just failed.
So I think something like this is being planned in Venezuela. So and we'll see. I think the strikes are going to come very soon, and then we'll see what effect that's going to have inside Venezuela.
Well, there are people in South America that, given the vast borders of Venezuela, they might say, I want to go kill some gringos,
Yeah.
okay? And no one's guarding the border because there's no government in Caracas. Who knows what can happen, okay? Um, could we see a fragmentation of Venezuela breaking down into parts, warlords and,
Yeah.
it just that, this kind of thing is you don't put the key into the lock and you turn it in out. Hey, we're done.
Yeah.
No, the law of unintended consequence. When I worked at finance, I was always told this one phrase you can't use. This time it will be different.
Yeah.
Never, ever
No,
say that.
no, 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 no,
Because once the first missile is fired, all bets are off.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's always the case.
That's right. That's right. And the notion that you're going to have some easy win, no,
So the next occupant of the White House will say, "How are you going to end the war in Venezuela?" Oh, I'll fix it in 24 hours. I mean, my point is that George and I can be completely wrong, but then there's no one can make a claim of knowing the future. But right now we have a sovereign country. It's heavily sanctioned by the United States and its allies, but it's there. Once the first missile fires, it could be completely different, and you'll wonder, it wasn't so bad
no,
before the first missile.
that's right. But no one will ever think of that, and I think that's why when as far as the Western media are concerned, they'll be basically supporting this, and then in a few years' time, they'll write a thoughtful essay in the New York Times. Maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe those regime change should have been perhaps put off for another day.
Is it possible, and we'll say this in a very ponderous New York Times, is it possible a alternative was missed? Let history judge.
That's right. Let's just recharge. Yeah.
And, massive movements of population. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The sanctions have absolutely wrecked Venezuela.
Yeah.
Okay. When people are hungry, they move. Okay. Who knows what's going to happen here?
Yeah.
Like I said, all right, it ain't perfect, but why try to fix something that can always get worse? That's where we are. Because it can easily, most likely, certainly will get worse.
Absolutely. Because instability, chaos, civil war They usually are worse. And what you've got with Maduro, and particularly as he's under sanction. So all this, the poverty and the whatever that this woman Machado was speaking, that is a consequence of the sanctions. I mean, you've pursued this policy um, for, ultimately for no good reason. You just don't like him. You don't like his regime. Well, no one's asking you to like his regime. And it's kind of interesting that this is the very thing that Trump had said that he had no intention of continuing with. That there's these regime change. That although we're not going to do that anymore. And speaking of that, I want to just show you that um, Tulsi Gabbard, of whom
Oh,
we
I saw that.
yes, but I just want to show you that she delivered this speech in Bahrain, in some forum there run by the Kingdom of Bahrain and the International Institute of Strategic Studies, and she says here the old Washington way of thinking is something we hope is in the rear view mirror and is something that has held us back for too long. For decades, our foreign policy has been trapped in a counterproductive and endless cycle of regime change or nation building. It was a one size fits all approach of toppling regimes, trying to impose our system of governance on others, intervening in conflicts that were barely understood, and walking away with more enemies than allies.
The person that wrote Trump's speech when he went to the Gulf, this person
That's
wrote this.
that's right, exactly. Yes, that's yeah.
Same
Same,
sentence,
exactly right. Yeah,
exactly the same
yeah,
sentence.
that's exactly right. The result, trillions spent, countless lives lost, and in many cases, a creation of greater security threats, the rise of Islamist groups like ISIS, and now we have President Trump was elected by the American people to put an end to this. And from day one, he has shown a very different way to conduct foreign policy, one that is pragmatic, deal driven, with a very realistic approach, focused on protecting American security and prosperity while engaging with the world on terms that actually make sense. So
Well,
that's the speech. She delivered this the other day.
she
And
didn't get the memo. She didn't get the memo, I guess.
well, I think there's a lot of memos that she didn't get. I mean, she's the I mean the memo about Iran isn't really interested in developing nuclear weapons. I think that was
And her own intelligence community said that Maduro and his government are not involved in.
in drug trafficking and
We 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 showed you the receipts.
yeah, that's right. And he's not head of Tren de Aragua. In fact, he's at war with Tren de Aragua. It's kind of strange. I mean, what is her role? What's the point of Tulsi in this administration?
Well, that this was a humiliation ritual in my mind. I think they want to get rid of her.
I would think so. I mean, she has to feel humiliated. I mean, she makes this speech
And
like
I'm
that.
not trying to defend her, okay? I'm not, okay? I mean, for somebody that I think is actually pretty smart, she's been two-faced on more issues than probably anybody else, okay?
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. It's just kind of interesting because I guess Trump promised her a job and he said it's the same with Bobby Jr. Hey, come and endorse me and you'll get a job, and he gave her this job. But
And it's a pretty amazing job.
it's a very nice job. But obviously, you're supposed to be the office of the director of the national intelligence. So you're collating all this intelligence for the president, but the president isn't interested in the slightest in anything that you have to say. So it's kind of a fairly pointless job. I mean, can you imagine she tries to make an appointment to see him? I don't think he's going to see her because
Look,
what's
everybody,
the
look
point
at
of
her
that?
record. Look at her record on Ukraine. She agreed more with George and I
Right. Yeah.
than the mainstream.
Right.
What happened there?
Right.
What happened?
Right. Yeah, no, there's nothing. You have to think that she's not going to survive in this administration. You'd have to think that sometime after the midterms, there's going to be a house cleaning. I think a number of people are just going to be out of work. I mean, I think they'll go probably survive until the midterms of next November, but then they're gone. And I think she'll be gone. I mean, there's no point to her having this job, and she's being regularly humiliated.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I just the first my thought is before we end this is that um, tomorrow during our live stream we get to say we told you so, we told you so. Maybe it won't be tomorrow, but it'll be like soon. Okay.
It's gonna happen when you put all your ducks in a row, you put all your weaponry in place. Something is going to happen. This is the old thing about the Chekhov, and then you put the gun. You see the gun in the first scene of the play. That gun's going to go off. So there's no question about that. So yeah, you got all the positions were in place. It was the same with really when George W. Bush kind of lined up all the forces in Iraq, but he was still not really admitting that the invasion is on. So, oh, no, it's really all up to Saddam Hussein. So it's a matter of, Saddam Hussein has to, do a deal with us. I think you don't put so many, troops in place in order to do a deal. I mean, that's the whole point. You put them there because you have no intention of doing a deal.
Show up with some coffee and donuts, okay? Make a deal, okay? You don't have to bring out the USS Gerald. I was thinking today, I wonder how Gerald Ford would feel about, that being. I don't know if I would want to be my name on an aircraft carrier. I mean, it's weird. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Why?
Yes.
Why?
It's like, yeah, it's gonna. Oh, they have to give him something. I mean, he was only president for 2 years, so he gets an aircraft carrier named after him. So that's nice. Did he actually get a Presidential Medal of Freedom? Did somebody give him that? I mean, almost all presidents, I think, get a Presidential Medal of Freedom. I know Jimmy Carter did. So I don't know. Was he ever awarded a Presidential Medal
I
of Freedom?
don't know, George, because he's so forgotten.
He is.
It's just forgotten. No, I mean, you remember when that the phrase the Nixon Kissinger Ford years. Remember
That's right.
that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's right.
that's
Yeah.
when Henry was still in vogue.
That's right.
Okay,
Exactly.
but I was really one of one of the fun podcasts when Henry Kissinger died said that no one can say this was an untimely death.
But he reached 100. He reached
He made
100
it to
mark.
100.
I mean,
And you would have thought he'd clean up his accent in 100 years.
yeah. But
His brother spoke perfectly.
exactly. That was his meal ticket. Because he spoke with that very thick German accent, people had to assume, "Whoa, this guy's really smart." I mean, it's like if you speak just like an American, no one's going to think you're smart. But can't understand a word he's saying. But boy, he must be really smart.
It must be cool. Must be right. All right, everybody. This is our wrap of our Sunday podcast here. Very serious business here. To both podcasts were quite depressing, in fact, and it just gets the storm clouds just get worse and worse. And there's all these other things that are going on that are unresolved and seem to be there's no will to actually do it. This is what, George and I have never been fanboys of Donald Trump, okay? If he just says something right, he does something right, I have no problem, no problem in
Right.
saying he did the right thing.
Yeah.
But this is a bad time, bad
And
place,
then, like,
and very, very weak leadership.
very weak leadership, and he's really pursuing the very policies that he said he wouldn't pursue. I mean, so the very policies he promised during the campaign that he wouldn't do. He would give. This is exactly everything that Tulsi Gabbard said in that paragraph that we read out. Yeah, you made all those promises. That's exactly what you said, and not even remotely are you following them. Exactly. Regime change. hard to see any American benefits in anything that Trump is doing. You're doing it's in the rear view mirror. No, it's right in front of
The
you.
deer in the headlights.
That's
Okay.
right.
All right, everybody. This is a Gaggle with Peter and George. We're on locals. So please go to thegaggle.locals.com. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock Eastern time as usual. Not my time usual, because people still change clocks and this weird and this thing, but it's just mindless. Okay.
Mindless.
I understood the EU wanted to do it years ago, but they just have not been able to. I mean, they want to prepare for war with Russia, but they can't figure out the clocks.
This was promised, I don't know how many years ago, they were going to stop this. And it just goes on. It's like you've even forgotten what year was it that they said this is definitely going to be the last, positively the last year we're going to do it. So that was already years and years ago when that was going to be positive the last year. So it's awful. And everybody knows it's awful. Everyone knows that it has negative health effects on people. People just have difficulties adjusting to that time change, losing an hour of daylight. All of that they know, and yet they continue doing this.
Which makes me segue to the tip jar. The tip
The
jar.
tip jar,
Okay,
yeah.
everybody. Again, this is a Sunday. Okay, it's supposed to be family time. But I'm spending it with George, kind of like family. But George did a lot of slides here, did the research, got the videos. Okay, so pony up. It's time to pony up.
Yeah, that's it. Pony up is exactly right. And then, as what always happens when you say this, Buddy chimes in. I did it. That was me. And I need to be rewarded and rewarded handsomely. And I'm not going to quibble with Buddy. If Buddy wants to take the credit, fine. Let him take the credit. But give him the money, give him, whatever he wants, you just give it to him. He likes lots of money. I mean, that's the thing. Little money doesn't do the job with Buddy. Like he likes lots of it. So
But he does everything big.
big, exactly. You got big handfuls of money. That's his motto. So if you have anything lying around, anything that you have no good use for, into that tip jar. Keep him happy. We're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can improve on the technology. And above all, we'll just appease Buddy for just a little bit longer. It's very, very hard work. So remember, if you like the Gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye-bye.